Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Virginia Drake, and she's going to tell us about her near-death experience. Hi, Virginia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. You are just a ball of energy, and I love that because I think some of us NDEers we just come back with this energy and this.
We do. I agree
We're
with
ready to
you.
testify, and so I'm going to let you take the floor if that's okay.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, in 1998, I woke up. Well, it was the week before my near-death experience. Why I tell everybody that because it really shook me to the very core. And I've had profound experiences since I was a little girl. I was my mother's seventh miscarriage in 1951. And that changed me right at the very front, start, because everybody thought I was never going to grow up. I was going to be this little bitty person. I mean, my mother had to give me baby clothes. It was just kind of crazy things, but I've always had these experiences. Now, when it came into 1998, the week before my near-death experience, I lived on a farm. I had horses. I had dogs. In fact, I had 6 dogs. I had a mass of people around me. And I was just coming in from the farm, from the garden, and I just sat down in the TV room and I was sitting there, and this guy he looked horrible. He was 90 years old and he had oxygen in his, nose. And he just kept leaning into the screen saying, "Don't get a heart transplant." Now, I knew this man was talking about a heart transplant because he just received this, but he's really giving you in 1998, don't do it, no matter what. And I remember he said, I have to take 96 pills a day. And I went, I can't even hardly take an aspirin. So I'm really viewing this going, oh, I'll never have that. I'll never do that. But he kept coming into the screen going, don't have a heart transplant. And I thought, is he talking to me? And I mean, I looked around and I could feel this energy coming through him. And finally I went, I am not going to have a heart transplant. I am 46 years old. I walk 4 miles a day. I'm up and down the steps all the time. I'm very healthy, and I'm not going to have one, period. The next week, I was looking at one, and I refused it. And they gave me at that time, well, now when I went through all of this, I had to go through all of the process because I went first because when I was having it, I thought I was having acid reflux because 3 weeks prior, I got an acid reflux in the classroom. It was like getting ready to go into summer break. And I thought, and it didn't feel like anything. It just didn't feel right. I thought it was indigestion. And when they had to call an ambulance, and my son was in the same room with me, and I had to kind of really stay very clear. I didn't want him to get scared. I didn't really want. And so when the ambulance came in, we went straight into the ER. And the minute they said, oh, let's give her some of this stuff first. Okay, this is 3 weeks. And then I'm giving you the week before, and then I'll give you that. Because you got to see all of these things because it kind of does roll back to you to make a decision very quickly after you see the experiences that before it happened. And so I remember they took this stuff in my throat, and immediately it just, whew, I thought, oh, wow. And a nurse in there with me said, well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to think you're going to have a heart attack, and you're going to want to come in here every week or so, because you're going to feel it. And he said, but it's just acid reflux. Well, they shouldn't tell people like me because that embarrassed me. I felt really bad about having to go into the ER, and I was in the classroom. I don't like to push anything, where I upset anything. I don't like to do that. So I kind of laughed. So I thought that's what was happening the next, after the first week when I saw the guy do not get a heart transplant. I'm still thinking it's always acid reflux. But I was in my classroom on it was the first day of summer break. And I was just having a hard time breathing. It felt like an anaconda, snake, and an elephant. But, I kept thinking it's acid reflux. I'm sure it's acid reflux, but this time it was painful. I couldn't breathe. So I went back down to tell the secretary, I said, and she said, why don't we call your son Brian and let's get you out of the classroom. Let's let you go home and just kind of rest so you can come back if you want to do your room. Because I mean, it was going to be the summer break. It was the first day of summer break. And I thought that's a good idea. It's probably something like that. Well, I got to the house and I went straight into a hot tub because I thought I had really hurt my shoulder. The minute I got into the hot tub and hit about right to my knees, it hit so hard. I thought I was going to die right there. Got out of that, and I felt like I needed to vomit. Now, I lived in a farm, you got to understand, and I had an area where we stayed in, and I just walked outside and vomited, and they came back because it was I mean, we're on a farm. I don't think about things like that. I thought that was really weird. Why would I want to, vomit? But don't think anything about it. You just still have this pain. So I went upstairs another 3 flights. And what really got my attention is my 2 cats. I'm laying in bed and my cats are going like this. Now, I'm an animal communicator. I've always been an animal communicator. I've always done it. I mean, since I've been a little girl. So I knew something was wrong with my cats. They just kept, but there was this very small little voice that said, you need to go into the bathroom and look at yourself. And I thought, now see, here comes my cat. He's going to sit there. And so I thought, okay. So when I went into the mirror, I'd already seen, my eyes were already thrown back in my eyes. And if you've ever seen anybody that's been dead, I knew exactly. I was ashen gray, and a voice said, you need to go to the emergency room now. I came running down the stairs, and my husband was there. And he said, I got the doctor. And I said, I need to go to the ER right now, right now. And he said, but we're getting the medication. I said, I need to go right now. And he was going, okay. Now he's still not even aware that anything's going on because I'm not aware. I'm just being directed with that small voice that I've had before in car accidents. And I've always learned how to follow it. So I remember getting in and he pulled up to the ER and he said, I'll park it. Now that's why I didn't think it was a big deal. And so I walked in and the girl, and this is a small town. So the girl said, and I had my arms like this. I said, I think it's acid reflux again. And and she's going like that. Okay. And she said, go right in the back. And I thought, she knows me. I'm a community person. I'm a teacher. She must recognize me because there is a full ER group that's waiting to go into the ER. And I thought, how nice they recognize me. This is what you think. You so crazy thoughts. So when I got in, I remember there was the same nurse, a male nurse, and then my friend Janet, who I went to high school with, she said, you're back. She's a nurse there. And I said, yeah. And her name was Punky. And I said, well, Punky, I don't know. She said, let's just get that acid reflux medicine again. And it's probably that. I said, I agree with you. I'm still like this. And so they gave it to me. But this time it went straight down and it ejected out of my mouth onto the wall. And the male nurse said, this is a heart attack. And I thought, did they say heart attack? And I left my body. I literally left my body, and my body could see myself over on the corner of the ER. And I thought, that doesn't make sense. Now, I have a background in science. That didn't make sense. That isn't like it should be. And I kept looking, and I would look at my body, and I thought, that's not normal. Then the next thing, I came back into my body again, and everything that's going on is now moved into slow-mo. When I went into my back in my body, it was like, they're having a heart attack. But I'm not seeing from these eyes. I'm seeing from my solar plexus. And I'm saying, that's not normal. Because you've got so many things going on. You're in supernatural, and this is supernatural. When you understand supernatural, you're in the supernatural and you're in the same reality of every day. So you've got 2 things going on constantly. You're moving back, I'm seeing them, but how it is, everything is just slow. And I'm thinking, what has happened? You're trying to logically figure it out. And then the next thing I know is they laid me down and I literally thought, where am I? And then I just kind of lost myself. It was like I didn't even exist here. I didn't exist there. I just wasn't there. And that's what it felt like. But when I came back into my body again, this is in seconds. You got to understand seconds and really milliseconds. There was a being inside of me, and it felt like I was leaning up against, they were holding me like I was like your mother would be holding your back to them. And this beautiful voice came up and pulled me in real time and said, shh, be quiet, be still. And I'm thinking, am I floundering over there? What's going on out there? But what's going on here? And God just kept pulling me in real time and said, be still. And I knew that was God. I knew it was, because you don't feel that. I mean, it was the most safe, kind voice, but very still. And it said, be still. So they got me really, I guess where I could go back into the other Lexington, or I go into Lexington to a larger hospital, because I was going to have a heart. They didn't know if I was going to have what I was going to have. They knew I was having a heart attack, so they knew they had to dress it. All our little ER was doing is just preparing me to get in the ambulance. And I remember everything came back into natural movement. I'm back in my body. I'm listening to what they're saying. And they said, you've had a heart attack. I'm listening. I think, oh, really? That's real. Because I wasn't feeling any more like I felt that way. I mean, they had soothed enough of the pain that had gotten me where I could handle the pain. So I'm thinking, oh, I can go home. There's nothing wrong with it. So I remember the ambulance driver came in, and obviously when they got me on the gurney and he was pushing me up into the ambulance, obviously it knocked me off of my body again. I went out. But why I knew that is because he was saying something in his mind. He said, she's not going to make it. I remember and I was just livid inside. I thought, you cannot tell people that you're not going to make it when you're in an ambulance driver. You can't do that. Well, I thought, why would he do that? So I've got my mind on thinking, what's going on here? He's telling me I'm dying. I'm not going to make it, but I feel fine. This is always going on with this kind of chatter. Then I get into the ambulance. Now, my husband couldn't join me because he was going to get the kids. And I was a Catholic educator. I was with a teacher, but I had a nun. And our principal, met me at the hospital, and she rode on the ambulance with me, which I am very grateful she did, because she knew how to pray. She did know, because if people hadn't prayed for me, I wouldn't have come back. And I know that because when you cross over, you hear everything, every voice, every prayer that's ever been given you. You feel it not from your physicality, you feel it from your soul. And I was very grateful she was there. But when I was in there, it was just like I just left my body again, and I'm riding on the outside of the ambulance. And I'm thinking, that can't be possible. I can't be in the ambulance and outside the ambulance. So there's that shifting, and everything's in slow motion. And I remember thinking, I could even see the driver of the ambulance thinking, I'm not supposed to be able to see that. There's a lot of things that go on because you're trying to address your logic, but you're in a supernatural world. So you don't even understand how this is all going. And the next thing I know, after that, it's like I had a ponytail, and somebody pulled the ponytail, and I went up and I landed with a group of individuals, but they're not like you think. They're called the Council of 12. Now, I didn't know anything about this council. I didn't understand any of that. So all I knew is they would smile. Yeah, I never could see their faces ever, but I saw their white robes, but I knew they had golden rope surround them, and I knew they would go. But I knew also it was like I was in a room, and I could see all the planets, and I could see how everything was going on, universal. And I could think, that doesn't match. I couldn't be able to do this. Well, the next thing I know, I'm out of there again, and then I'm back into the ambulance. So you got to understand, people don't know this is fast. I heard a man that said, I've never heard of new NDEs being able to come in and out. Oh, yes, you can. In and out all the time, because we're all in and out. Nobody understands that. You're sometimes, if you're daydreaming, you're out. You have to learn how to come in. So I had been probably practicing this as a kid because I was in and out all the time. So I remember then I came in, and the ambulance driver pulled my, my bed out, or the gurney out, and we hit that the floor, the road, and it jerked me back into my body again. And so now this time I'm really in my body, and now I'm in really a lot of pain. But the whole thing is, I remember laying down, and all the lights are going, past me. And I thought, this is just like ER. You remember the series ER? Yeah. And it's exactly what I thought. I'm in ER. Okay, I'm on. You have such crazy, because you come in and out. So when I came in, the 3 teachers that were with me were there. And because they left school when they heard that I was having a heart attack, and they were with the principal, they all came in. Now, my husband had not gotten there. I didn't realize all of this until later, and I remember I couldn't even hardly talk because the pain was so excruciating. And they said, and we used to do this with kids, if you're really sad, just give me 1, close your eyes real tight. 1, that's yes. And 2 is no. And that's what we did. And they said, are you okay? And I went, no, no. I wasn't scared, but what I felt immediately is, I'm not going to get to see my children. I'm seeing these 3. These are the last 3 people that I might only see when I leave. And I was just, it wasn't sadness, but yet there's sadness. It's like, I'm not going to see these people again, or my sons, or my husband. And the nurse came in, and she wheeled me out back into the OR. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to see these people ever again. But it wasn't about dying. It wasn't about fear. It was about the loss. And it wasn't anything about death. And I remember the nurses came in, and they were gloving up, and they said, okay, this is how it's going to roll. This, they're really upbeat. This is how it's going to roll. You've had a heart attack, and this and that. And your doctors. And see, now I didn't even know this man. I didn't know this cardiologist. I didn't know any of these nurses. So you're really trying to gather information by looking at faces. The only 3 that I recognized was those 3 that I last ones I saw. So you're really trying to work it out. And I remember, here comes the cardiologist now, and he's looking at me, and he's doing gloves, we're going to do this. But I remember he wasn't ready to do on the OR. He leaned over, and there was a pen in his pocket, and it fell over and hit the floor. But I thought, that I shouldn't be able to see that. This is what I'm saying. You can transcend really quick. And then he said something, we'll get this taken care of. He's really confident in what he was doing. I thought, okay, I'm okay. I'm cool. I can handle this, And I remember they were getting ready, and they did the growing. And they don't even do it this way anymore. That was in 1998. So they don't even do this anymore. And when they did it, I stopped them, and I said, I want you to turn the screen around because I want to see it. And the cardiologist said, wow, you want to do that? I said, I'm a teacher. I want to teach it. And he said, okay. And I saw the whole thing. And I heard that thing go, in your body, it vibrates inside. And when it hit that clot in the aorta, because I had a 99% aorta blockage, they opened it up, and I went, and I thought, well, gosh, I can go to school. I can go back. I'm fine. Oh yeah, because when it's sort of like birth in a way, after you have that baby, I took that. It was like, oh, I can go now. I'm okay. That's kind of way you felt. And I thought, okay. And then I remember when I came back, the cardiologist, well, no. When I came in, the priest was there, but he wasn't at our parish. He was another parish, but we wanted my priest there because he was preschool principal. And I wanted him there, but it didn't matter because after a while, you don't really care anymore. After you've had a near-death experience, like I said, it's like that small details because everybody was out there arguing about which priest should be in. And then the priest is standing right there, Father Moore. And I said, he did not give me anything but sickness, the ornament of he didn't give me death or the last rites or anything. And I remember thinking, why are they all upset? Well, everybody's still upset because nobody's handling what they thought they should be handling. And I remember because I was the detail kind of teacher and detail person, usually I worried about details, and it was just like the details didn't matter anymore. Life didn't matter the same way. But I remember I was laying there and I thought, what has happened to me? Everything settled down. And the nurses came in. They asked me if I was okay. And I said, yeah. I said, what's going on? And she said, you've had a heart attack. And I thought, well, I know that. But what else is going on? I mean, there was so much going on that there wasn't that nobody else is recording to anything that I had been involved in. I mean, I've been out in the ambulance, in somebody else's head. I was up in the heavens. I talked to these 12 people standing in front of me. There is no logic, but a part of you has witnessed that. And so in that night, they had to wheel me to another room, and there was a woman in there, and this is for the ICE. She was in the process of dying. She was probably in her 70s. I'm 46 years old, and all we had was a little curtain between us, and she didn't talk much or anything. So after all that kind of left, I was still in there just pondering, and then I kept noticing there was a light in the corner of my bedroom, my room, and I kept thinking, why is that light in the corner of the room? Why would I even be able to see that? Well, it kept getting bigger, and it kept bigger. And I thought, bad drugs. They've OD'd me, and now I am seeing things. Well, this light eventually came to a level, and it was Archangel Michael, and he was bigger than the hospital. And I thought, this is not working for me. But he was very firm, very clear, and he came down. It was like I knew I was on the 3rd floor. I don't remember why. I think I heard him say it. And he was like in the 6th floor, and he came down looking at me on the bed. And he said, it's time to wake up. And I thought, oh no, no. I thought they're supposed to be nice. Because I really thought, angels are supposed, no, Archangel Michael was very firm, very exact, and he was like nailing me to it. It's time you wake up to the truth. And I thought I knew the truth. I think I do. And right after all of that, it was like he went out to the outer window, and he's outside, but he's up here. And I thought, no, bad drugs. You're trying not to wrap your mind. You're trying to wrap your mind around.
Reason
It doesn't make a lot of sense. But all of a sudden, these angels just appear out of nowhere. And they start walking around my bed. There is no way they could walk around my bed because I've got a piece of cloth here separating me and this lady. They're walking through my wall, coming back around, going through this and coming. It was like they were circling me, but they were so bright, but their mouths were going. And I'm thinking, I can't hear them. So why can't I hear them, but I can see him standing over behind him, bigger than the hospital? I'm thinking, oh man, this is bad. Because you've gone, I really do work with NDEs a lot because there is so much that comes with all of this. And you want to get the full messages because we are fragmented in messages, but we're not, we're getting something. And I'm sure because you remember a lot, but you don't get the full flow of what the message is. And so I remember my cardiologist came in. No. I think he did come in just to look at me or check on me, but he didn't say anything. Or there was a doctor. Now, I thought he was my cardiologist. But during this, while this the angels are going, I thought, oh man, there's just too much going on here. I mean, we got a doctor that I don't even recognize. Doesn't appear to be the doctor that I met, And then you got these angels, and then you've got Archangel Michael up here. And then everything kind of calmed down. It was like a 3 or 4 in the morning. Now, somebody came in to our room, and I'm sitting there, but I'm still kind of in and out, and there's still stuff going on. But I'm listening to this man, and he sounds like the National Geographic's narrator. And I thought, no, that can't be possible. Wow. And I thought, because I'm a teacher, I watch the Learning Channel, National Geographic, all of them have the same narrator. I mean, you can't miss him. Anytime he would come on, all the teachers would laugh with National Geographic. We don't, but he's standing over there talking to I assume it is his mother, okay? So I'm listening to this, but I'm listening to this. So everything kind of settled down, and she died. I assumed that she had died because the nurse came in that morning, and I looked at her and I said, did she pass? And she said, yeah. I said, that's the funniest thing. I said, there was a man that came in there with her. And I said, was that her son? She said, yes, that was he wanted to see her before she left. And I said, the wildest thing? And I don't know why I would even say this to a nurse. I said, it sounded like the National Geographic. She said, it was the National Geographic narrator. He just flew in from California. That's his mother. Wow. Oh no, you have no idea. Because the reality was there and the supernatural was over here. And I knew they both matched. They both came in together at the same. So God knew to give my mind to what I would remember or I would even talk about. You had to show me the real reality and what was really going on at the same time. I would never,
Confirmation.
Yeah, big time. That's when that gave me a whole new world because I thought it is really real. It really does work. And so when I came back and I was only there for I was in there, but they were still telling me, I guess this would be the second day. The first night was that. Okay. The second night, the second morning, the 2 nurses came in. Now, they had already warned me when I got in that bed the night before and said, do not do anything. If you have to go to the bathroom, you do not get up. You call us because I'll bleed out. I mean, they had this, sandbag on me. And they said, you don't understand. You do anything, you squirm a little bit, this could unlock that clot. And I thought, oh, now you got fear of it. And so I remember the 2 women came in, the 2 nurses, and they said, we're going to take you somewhere. We're going to take you because the cardiologist wants you to come up and do on the treadmill. And I went like this. I said, I beg your pardon. I said, you just told me that I can't do anything. You're going to put me on a treadmill? Then all of this came rushing. I said, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me, and it's okay. I'm going to have to handle it. I remember how calm I was about it. Well, they were messing with the oxygen, which I really didn't need, but they needed to give me, and they dropped it on my shoulder, the oxygen tank. I said, they are killing me. They're really killing me. And I got very clear. I thought, well, I've got to be very clear. And the nurses, as we were going out and we're going to the elevator, one of the nurses said, you go in there and you really do it. Just do whatever you feel. And I thought, she really wants me to die. They've already told me I can't get out of the bed. They're telling me I'm getting back on the bed. Then I'm going to get on a treadmill. Oh, they're going to kill me. So when I got into the elevator, there was another nurse in there. There was 3 now. And one of them looked at me and said, would you touch me? And I said, I'm a dead woman. And I even said this because, I was an actress. So I thought, if you're going to die, I might as well do a dying, log, my moment of loss, And I looked at her and she kept saying, no, please, just touch me. And I thought, and the 2 other nurses are looking at each other, at her. I mean, you can feel there's a dialogue going on that I'm not privileged to, but I knew something was going on. And so I said, well, if that's what you want. And I kind of took her hand. I said, bless you, or something like that. And she said, thank you. She got out of that one and went off another floor. And these two said, when you get up there, you do it. You do it. And I thought, okay, what's going on? Now, here is my cardiologist. And I recognized his shoes immediately because they were Kohans. Now, how in the world would I know he had Kohans? Because it immediately took me back to the OR and I saw his Kohan shoes in the OR. How could I have done that? And the only reason why I recognized them, because I used to wear them. They were $350 a pair. It's outrageous, but I used to wear them. And so I was thinking, and he was setting up on his, he had everything up and he was kind of almost up. He was up in his spine, looking up in his spine, like, real proudly. And he said, fix her up, put her on whatever they were going to do. They were going to do, I think, oxygen or whatever. And they said, and he goes like this. He said, turn it on. And he looked at me. He said, walk gently first. He started, and I thought, no, they're going to kill me right now. They're going to do it right now. I'm going to probably keel over. And those two nurses are still doing this. And so as you got to remember, I was only in there for 2 days. I mean, it was like crap, so my body was used to walking and doing so all of a sudden I felt like it was almost like a jerk of energy that came in. And I thought, yeah. And I remember then I thought, I even got even more, okay. And then I started doing this and they turned it up even more. Next thing I was really doing, those nurses are like this. And I'm thinking, and the next thing I know, he said, stop it, turn it off, take her to a room. And I thought, I must have passed the test. So, I didn't know what was going on. And the nurses were elated. And as we were going down, they couldn't tell me anything. But when I got to my room, there was my hometown local doctor. The manager of the hospital was there. My cardiologist, I don't know if he ran up there to get it, and my husband. And these 5 men are sitting around talking about me. And what he's telling them, he's saying, the cardiologist is trying to explain what has happened here. Because he asked me to take a heart transplant and I refused it, remember? Now, it makes me, I'm so, you don't know, I'm blessed, girl. And so I refused it, remember? Now he's having to explain why I'm alive and I look good and I'm going to probably walk out in the next day completely healed. And he's trying to say it was it's shocked heart. And I remember I'm listening to these 5 men addressing my experience and explaining. And I raised up out of that bed and I said, all I've got to say is this: it's miraculous. And it's a miraculous healing. And I don't care what you call it. And then I laid back down and I thought, you got to stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. Because I was so angry that they weren't even equating to what has happened, but I had never told it. I haven't had time to tell anybody. And so I remember the next day, those nurses still touches, and even though it's been almost 27, these 2 nurses came back and they said to me when they were getting me ready to go home, and one nurse said, please don't come back. Don't you ever come back here. She said, you've given us hope. We've seen things that we never thought we'd see. And we want to thank you. And I thought, I didn't do anything. I just followed that voice, that I had heard that voice all my life in car accidents. And I did not always listen to that voice. I didn't listen. Boy, am I so glad I listened. Now that voice is so, so available to me, and it's 24 hours. That's all I hear. That's why and when I crossed over, that I remember this, because I did see God. That's what God asked me or said to me, how did you serve me? And it certainly wasn't because I was a teacher, that I was a Catholic, or I had been a Baptist. It wasn't talking about my Christianity. It wasn't talking anything. And he looked right at me and he said, how did you serve me? I had not even understood what that meant. Writing a check, doing the world of man is not always about serving God. You know what serving God that I learned from this experience and my others is that when God tells me to go where I need to go, whether it makes no sense to me at all, or you go in that restaurant, and I've had this happen. I've had people that are with me and they go, "You're not going over there to talk." I said, "Yes, I am." Because that's serving God. When you go against God is when you're following the world of man and you're following the rules of them. And that I don't follow that rule. I mean, I do some really crazy things, girl. I mean, for Christians, they need to wake up and see that it's not writing a check. It's not your, because I had a big house, I had the big cars, I had the pool in the back, I had I had horses, I had the American dream, but that was empty. It was empty. That's why I ended up going for 5 years with my family. I was with my husband almost 30 years. You know how I found out about what happened to him? Since I had this near-death experience, it opened me up to see what God really asked of me. And there was a man, a priest, who came through my bathroom, and it sounds crazy, and I want people to wake up to see this really happen. And he was in full, as a priest, he was dead. I'm sitting on the toilet. That doesn't happen, you're going like, what in the world? And you know what he did? He told me I can't move forward because Ron, my husband at the time was named Ron. He said, Ron hasn't forgiven me. I thought, wait a minute, what are you talking about? He showed me he molested my husband since he was 10 till he was 16. Now, I did not know that. I was in a 27-year marriage and never once knew about that. And you'll appreciate it. I was a psychiatric social worker, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. So I'm sitting there going, oh. Now, my family, after I came back out of that near-death experience, I could talk to the grass, I could talk to the trees, I could talk to Mother Earth, I could talk to everything because everything was alive. Now, what they were seeing was me being crazy because I wasn't matching anymore the world of man. I was truly in the supernatural world of God. I don't care what anybody says. It happened. And I was really thinking, oh my, there's so many people that do not even understand God, much less, because I knew the scriptures, honey. But that's when Jesus when he came in after that near-death experience, he taught me there's a Bible within the Bible, and you better understand it. Because there is a simple understanding. Find the lessons. Don't listen to all the words. Those are vibration to keep you off the track of what the real is, because there is an encode Bible. There's a Bible that tells you exactly from the minute to the minute to the minute, but you live in it every day. And that's all I'm teaching is the Bible is alive right now. And I show it right there. The prodigal son. I mean, I work with people all over the world. And I sat there, I show them, there's your Bible right there. That is really going on in you right now. You got to open the Bible up to the truth. And that's what it taught me, is that I really didn't know what serve was. Oh, I knew how to write a check. We had money. I knew what I could do, and I could serve my community. I thought that's what it would be. No, I fed the hungry. I went over there. No, that's not what God was asking of me. God was asking me, did you hear me? Did you do what I said? I didn't hear him because I was hearing another voice on the other world. That was the voice of, judgment, following the rules, make sure you're right, make sure I remember my mother always worried about me. She said, I'll make sure you have clean underwear. You know what that was all about when I had to look at all of this? She was so afraid I might have a car accident and somebody might realize I had a clean underwear. I thought, I've been on 3 ambulances. I said, nobody in the ambulances that I was in didn't raise my underwear up and say, look, she has not changed her underwear. Do you see what I'm saying? My mother was worrying about me having bad underwear, not even worrying about whether I was going to, in a car accident. Do you see what I'm saying? We have lost the reality of that near-death experience for me opened me up to see all the ones I'd had prior. I drowned twice. It was my mother's seventh miscarriage. I was only 1 pound and 7 ounces in 1951. Should not have lived.
Right.
Drowned twice at 11 and 16. I have had 2 strokes, did not go to the hospital because the higher self taught me how to reverse it, change it. I had to learn how to talk again, and I learned how to do it because there is an energy, there is a spirit in every one of us. And if we don't start bringing that spirit in and really learning to work with God, which I think God means G-O-D, goodness over doubt. Stop doubting ourselves. What is that message? The message is, fear not, I'm with you. You've got to get out of the fear. There is no fear. We've created fear because what are we afraid of? What are we afraid of? If you know the power of the Holy Spirit, why would you be afraid of anything? Why? That's what Jesus taught me. He looked right at me. He stayed with me for 18 weeks. And I mean, he nailed me. He didn't have, it wasn't a nice Jesus that came in. He nailed me. He told me that, you're following the wrong God. And I mean, he laid it out. And he said, this God is not a real God. This is a God that you think is real. If you're not honoring my Father by worrying, serving him, that's why I don't have free will. I took that away out a long time ago because it's right there in the Bible. My will is thy will. I only want the will of God and no other will. My free will caused me to get in trouble because you got too much choice in there. And all this is now is choice. In, out, fear, or love. It's that simple, but we have made it well. This is the informative way of teaching everybody what is it. But let's go back to the tree of knowledge. What have we been doing? Knowledge. But they're not anything connecting to the dots to find out what that knowledge has to create, the wisdom behind it. That's why the tree of life is truly living in the experience of life. If you're not experiencing God, then all you're doing is getting a part of God. I experience God. I mean, I told you I'm blessed. And I'm not the only one. I have people that I work with. I have friends that have been with me. We have seen miraculous things. But if you're not only seeing this, how could you ever see this? You never can. You've got to get, I'm not crazy because too many of us have gone along that now since video has come out and being on all the podcasts, my voice has gotten to be very strong. And I have people all over the world wanting to know this. All I'm teaching you I'm saying the same thing. It's so simple. But you've got to go in because the breath of God lies within us, all around us. That's the Holy Spirit, breath. What did God say to Adam? He took his nostrils and he blew through his nostrils. What do you think that meant? He blew knowledge, love, everything into as God, because we are children of God. That's what I got. I mean, I've gone back. I mean, I studied the Bible just like as a Baptist. But I've also studied as a Catholic, which that's not really a lot of, but I taught for 13 years the Old Testament, and I ended up, because of knowing that Old Testament, I went to a Jewish synagogue and spoke there. And they couldn't believe it that I knew that scripture better than them. And who taught me? Jesus. Showed me, because when I was there, he was standing right behind me and he said, do not use my name, use Abraham. See, because the Jews they don't recognize Jesus. Jesus was there in that synagogue. But I was saying Abraham because he knew they would not. Now you tell me, then they fly me back in, and because they couldn't believe that as a Gentile, I would understand it. I didn't understand it because I was a Gentile. I understood it through the presence of Jesus Christ. And that is the facts. The only reason why I've gone through all this is to tell people the truth. Now, you know, I have been criticized. I've been told by a lot of people that I am in my ego, that I'm lying about God. You know, I'm sorry. The God that I met was the most amazing God I've ever met in my life. And it wasn't an image of a man or a woman. It was light, and it was electrical, and it was smart. But those words are very small. When you're dealing with an energy of the supernatural, what? And you can't put words in that, because that would drawing it down to the world of man. I don't live in the world of man. I live in that presence. And God looked right at me, and that's what I'm telling you. How did you serve me? That's all he said. You know what it was? I had to look at my own self. My soul looked right at me in the face and said, we have a lot to do. And that's when I said, that's when you have mind, body, soul, and spirit unite in oneness. And if you don't have that oneness, then you don't have the complete picture of what God has asked us to do. It's much deeper. I mean, I'm glad that you call, you know, I'm glad we connected to me, because I feel you, I feel this energy, but this is my truth. This is where I'm at. You know, now if other people don't believe it, that's fine. I mean, I'm not here to persuade anybody. I'm not in there, because that would be incorrect, wouldn't it? I'm not out there, but I am a witness. And I have people around me that are now witnesses. So if I figure all of the witnesses, all the disciples, and I consider all the witnesses are going to be disciples, we need to start talking loud about this frequency of getting to that tone of God, because things are not looking so great here. And that's because it's the lower frequency. God is an energy beyond. So if you know that this is a very low consciousness, why are we not pulling it up when we know God? No, because we're bringing then a little small God down here. That's not the God I work with. And the Jesus that I work with, he looked exactly like I had been trained to see him. I used to have a bulletin board that said, Jesus loves you. And there was a big smile. And you don't see Jesus with a smile. So when Jesus came to see me, to talk to me for 18 weeks, or 18 months, whatever it meant, he came in exactly as that picture. Now I thought, if I got Jesus sitting here, I'm gonna ask him some questions, because I'm a teacher. I'm a questioner. I want to find out what the truth is. And I asked him, I said, how do people really see you or know you? He said, how they've been trained to know me. Now that's true. You will have a different Jesus image. I will have a different image. I bet you if we all lined up a lot of Christians and we had had them draw it, I can guarantee you he'd be close, but he would be different. And
I
he
think
said,
that's why NDEs are all different.
yes, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. And so when he came in, he showed himself to me, but then he said, I want you to understand. He said, if I came in as somebody else, he said, you'd never even know I was there. Only way I would have known how he trained me, he said, the only way, because when he let himself go, his flesh was gone, and he said, how are you going to know me? I said, I'm going to feel you. Because don't you know, and I know you've had an NDE, you already feel the spirit. When you walk into a room, you know the density, you know, and I've been teaching this frequency because I'm a science teacher. I was teaching light theory and everything before I really taught light theory. Because when I went into quantum, I knew what quantum was, but I'd never experienced quantum. When you experience this, it opens up the Bible, God, Jesus, and you know that because you've already been over. So there's a whole different ball game going on here. And it's exciting to me that, I mean, I never thought I would ever be talking like, you know, I never wanted to be famous. I didn't want to, I told God I want to be right under the radar. I said, you bring the right, and honey, there is nobody. The only way you could ever come into my clientele is you had to come in with a reference. If you didn't have a reference, I would never met you. And the only reason why, God directed that. He told me, that's the same thing, somebody got mad, and I said, he said, there was a lot of people asking me to do a book, and God came to me and literally said, "That's a book about the world of man." And everything in the world of man. Now you look around you, everything is the world. He said, it's tainted. And you've got to go find the taint to find the truth. And that's all I am, is a truther. I find the taint. I discover the taint. I show the taint out just like this. But I've been doing it on a very small, scale until Jeff Maher. And I'm telling you, I was dancing with God because I've been doing gardening. I'm 72 years old, so I was really retiring and getting excited about it. So I was kind of dancing with God. I thought, maybe I should bring in some new clients, because I always like to learn new things about people. And if people just know, God just wants you to be happy and joyful, not, struggling. That's the first thing I learned. There's no such thing. When you really understand God, you should not have a struggle. If you're struggling, you need to stop right then, because you're in the wrong place. I mean, this is so simple. All you have to do is become aware of it. But I was dancing with God, came down, something on an NDE on a Facebook post, and they said something, and I thought, and I wrote just fast. I mean, and I just kind of within 10 minutes, Jeff Maher called me. I mean, he didn't call me. He posted, on messenger to me. And within a week I was on. Well, I'm just used to being, I've been doing this, like I said, but I think I've been doing since 2001, 2003, whatever that is. I've been doing videos, radio shows, and everything. So when he called me, I thought, no big deal, So I thought it was just going to be small, So I gave him my email address, because, I didn't have a website. You wouldn't, like I said, there wasn't anything there. So I felt the presence of God, and it just rode out. Well, if you read it, saw it, a lot of people said there was such a strength in it. Well, there is, because I could feel the Holy Spirit, and there wasn't anything Jeff could have done anyway, because the agenda was being set. He didn't, he even, after it was over, he said, "Oh," he said, "I never experienced anything." I said, "Well, I have, because I'm a motivational speaker, but I've done it in very small venues, because I think the most I've ever seen is maybe 300 and 350. God never wanted me to be, overwhelmed. And I'm being honest, because I was overwhelmed. We had, in less than 24 hours, I had over 50 emails.
Wow.
I've had over 6,000 emails, people all over the world. And I had to call Jeremy in, and he is a dear friend. He had to put the website up. I had to invest in myself and him. And God kept saying, "You're going to be big. This is going to be big." And I kept saying, "I don't want to be big." I think that one now has gone to 742,000 people, but I've been on 16 to 17, 18 podcasts all over the world, because all I'm doing is this. And if it's really not my words, it's my spirit. I want people to know that we have that spirit in us, and we have to pull that spirit in and let it become a part of all of this, because this is the world that needs that. And if we don't see the true God, it's not the rules anymore, because I was in the rules. I remember when I was having that heart attack, and they told me I had 6 months to live. And I thought, I followed the rules. I went to college, found the husband, got the house, 2.5 boys. And then I've got the big farm. I got, like I said, the American dream. It wasn't there. It was empty. And I didn't even know it was empty. I'd had glimpses of God from, being little. I saw Jesus when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and we'd be in Sunday school, and he'd be standing there, and they'd be talking about him, and I'd look at him. I said, I wouldn't say, "Why can't they see you?" And he said, "They don't know me." I thought, "They don't know you? They're talking about you. They don't know me." And I, like I said, when I was drowning, those 2 times I was drowning, I was 11 and I was in a lifeguard course. And that's when it was in the 60s, and they had this, bloom over, it bloomed over the bathing suit. It was like a two-piece, but you bloomed. And I got stuck in her because we were in a class and we were acting like struggling victims. And I was really struggling. I almost died. And they had to pull me out. I saw the pearly gates that day. I saw the gates, and I mean, it came in like this. Now, the gates always open, don't they? These were pearl, but they were a pearl. They were beautiful. Oh my God. Oyster pearls, like all of them. And it came out like this. And I was heading that way. And it was like an energy or a hand said, it's not your time. And I went right back into my body. I was out of body, most likely, but I was heading in. And I remember I raised up after they got me. I said, I saw the pearly gates. I had a friend there, and she said, she and I have been together for 67 years. She said, I feel so bad. She said, we didn't even acknowledge that happened to you. They didn't. I went, I saw the pearly gates, and everybody just walked away.
Things weren't talked about back then.
No, well, why is because I saw my father after he died, and my mother was terrified. She told me, now this is my dad died in 1968. Now, I've always had these kind of things. I mean, things came out of my closets. I saw demons. I saw dark things. I saw shadows. My mother wouldn't talk about it. She knew because she was like me. But I remember I called her after my dad died, and she said, you do not tell anybody. Don't you tell anybody, they'll take you out in a straitjacket. Well, they did take my father out in a straitjacket because he had a cancer tumor that UK and then left him at here, and he almost killed my mother and I. Now, I'm telling you, I went through some really, and it's not because I'm a Christian, it's because all of this and these horrible traumas, so I could come to this point to see why. Because it wasn't trauma. It wasn't it was the place. I was in the wrong God state. When you're in the state of the world of man, that looks real dark and victimless. When you understand it, when God showed me literally from the very point of my breath coming into this, he showed me how I was going to be this way, and showed me the trauma, showed me what I had to go through, and help me to help cross over other people in their dying moment. That's what I'm there for. This is who I really am good, is I can't walk in and everything happens because I've already been over. Same thing to you. We could be better because I don't want anyone to go over that's afraid. Because when you go into fear, this, you've been over, you will throw that energy into a whole different, you'll go into a different thing. That's why people come back and they've been into hell, because they haven't seen the greatness of what really goes on, because they're still attached to the lower consciousness here, the guilt, the shame, that doesn't even exist with God. When you're dealing with a being that is so much more massive, we're so small. We're just, I remember I asked him so much, Jesus, and he said, why would I be upset about those kind of things? Because we get caught up in the world of man, and those are big deals. When you cross over, it's like I said, those little details of all those women upset about the wrong priest being there. I knew then it didn't really matter. The right and perfect person, and this is the way I live. Divine order, divine timing, divine plan, and most of all, make it easy. Because I don't have to struggle, because God told me, and so did Jesus, why are you struggling? If you know me and you have understood me and you know my Father, why are you struggling? And that's exactly the truth, isn't it? Why are we not teaching this? I mean, go to church today. I was Baptist. I was worried every day I was going to hell. Even if I thought about a word, I was going to hell. I wasn't going to get out of it, because they pretty told you anything you do, anything you think, anything, you're going to hell. I worried about hell more than I worried about heaven. I couldn't, when it came to my reality, I looked at the God that I had created in hell, and it was a God of man, the image of a man, a father that would beat the hell out of you. Now, the God that I met when I crossed over, electrical, beautiful. I mean, it radiated through my whole bones, everything. And there was nothing but love there. But it's not the love of the world of man. That's a divine love.
It makes
That's a
me
love.
think of the Daniel Brinkley movie where his mom is dying and he asked, "Do you want me to call a preacher?" And she's no, says, preacher's been telling me my whole life I'm going to hell. I don't want to hear that right now.
And see, they've missed the mark. They're trying to follow the rule, Seraphi, what is it? The Pharisees. They're the Pharisees. Let's go back to the Bible. The Bible talked to me. And I mean, I could just put the Bible in my hand and I said, I have answers. And then that, they would say answers. And all it is to find something that's really true. It's not about the answer, it's the question. You got all the answers, but you don't know the questions, how to ask those answers. So you'll never ever get them.
Well, I've been to church a lot in my life and I don't always understand the Bible. And I know my second NDE, and I was in the bright white light. I said something like, the Bible's getting old and people don't understand it. And
You're right.
like me included. And I said, you need to send some people back. This is 1986, and let people know that it's real. If people knew that was real, they change their life.
That gives
And
me, oh, you felt it. You know what I'm talking about.
mhm.
Then we're witness to this. The Bible is alive. It's a real thing. And they're trying to change it. It's been changed, but you'll catch it very quickly when you know the difference between the Bible. There's the Bible within the Bible, and you know it. Oh, girl, we have such an opportunity, and you've got such a podcast that this is the way I want to talk about. I don't want to talk just, a lot of them just want you to tell them. And I thought, I'm not just going to do the NDA. I mean, NDEs. I want to do what happened after the NDE. It woke my butt up to a reality that I didn't even know existed. And it became alive to me. And you make different choices when you know the truth in all of it. Because all
There's a
you really,
part in
oh,
my NDE that I remember thinking, 25, here I am dead. And I'm thinking, I
mm.
hardly spoke. Like, mum's the word. I didn't tell people things. I didn't explain what's happened. I wasn't me. I wouldn't allow anybody to see me because I thought
Oh,
I was so stupid. I was so bad. I was so rotten because I've been told that my whole life.
I
And I
know.
thought
Who told you
I
that?
went
Who told you that?
growing up, child
No,
abuse,
no, no,
emotional
no, no.
abuse,
Let's
my
look at
husband's
that. No,
family.
I want to do this with you.
Okay.
Tell me, who did your parents or somebody come and say, you are unworthy?
My brother John, my older brother, he
Okay, your
would
brother.
follow me around saying things like that.
What did he say to you exactly?
You're a slut, you're a whore, I can smell you clear over here.
Okay, now look what you did. You gave him power in your mind and you became that.
I took like 3 long hot boiling showers a day because he kept telling me I was dirty.
Okay, we need to look at that. But thank God you had an NDE, because didn't it wake you up to make you see the greatness in you?
Yes, it made me realize I want to be seen. I want to stop hiding.
Yeah.
Like I had this long hair and everybody said she would just hide behind her hair. I was a real
Oh,
skinny thing. I would hardly talk. I didn't have an opinion about anything. Everybody else had opinions. Everybody else was smart. Everybody knew everything and I didn't.
see
And
that?
I wanted to start having a voice.
Yes.
Like
Well,
while
no,
I'm
you
like when I come
given
back, I
courage.
thought I want to go to college.
Oh,
I want
wow.
to do
Right.
what I always wanted to do, which was to help abused kids. I want to speak out about what happened to me. I want to make a difference. I want to make my mark while I'm here.
That's
When I was
mine too.
55, I wrote my memoir and I was like, this is going to be here after I go.
Well, this is my
Anybody around the
podcast.
world, pick up my book, read my story and learn
Absolutely.
something. Don't make the
Well,
mistakes I did.
and my podcast stuff is just going to be as it'll go up. But what, like I said, I knew because I was an English teacher. I was a writer, and this is what I was told. After you leave, your book will be written by your clients and your friends. I would much rather have my book written back that than me, because then I can do my work. And and it's not anything that wrong or in nothing is right or wrong. You got to follow your divine plan. Mine's got to follow mine. But if we would follow our divine plans and stop pointing at fingers at other part, we wouldn't, the world would change. And you're a change. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't learn much in school because I was the one daydreaming, looking out the window all the time. But I remember a teacher used to say regularly that, our generation was the future. And which every generation, he has is going to be the
Yes.
future. And he said, you could be part of the problem or part of the solution. And that stuck with me. And I even think about it, even, like yesterday, I was thinking about that, being part of the problem or being part of the solution.
And this, I
Like,
agree.
what can we all do? What can I do to be part of the solution? Because we all know the problems,
Oh,
and I'm so irritated
we
with
know it's
people that
upside
just
down. We
become
know,
the problem,
yeah. But see, that's another, the way that he was doing it, he was showing you that's the way the world of man would think. How would God flip that up?
Well, for me, being going to church and stuff as a kid, but yet having somewhat atheist and heathen parents and family, I was figuring life out for myself, and I knew that being part of the solution was anything that has to do with being Christian was part of the solution.
Well, see, from this point of view, when I heard you say that, because I've heard that before and I've done it in my own classroom, and I look, and God would say, this is what I felt immediately. He says, how would you handle that with me? And this would be because we don't have to worry about solutions, do we? We go straight to where? God. We don't have to do a solution. That's all in the world of man. To have to resolve, you got to do, I don't have to do anything. I go straight up and I said, there's a question. I'll trust you.
Up.
You tell me if I'm a servant. Huh?
You were breaking up a little bit there, but you're back.
That's, yeah. Okay,
Internet's
but what it
unstable,
does
says.
is, yeah, well, what it is because we get into such a higher frequency.
Yeah, happens all the time. Take 2 into ears, getting worked up, and
like
internet's bad.
Frozen. Darn.
Am I still frozen?
Round.
Can you hear me?
I'm fine, but you're going out. So is it?
We messed it up.
Well, the thing is, this is very common. This is not the most, because when I go up like that, because I mean, it gave me a great understanding when you said that, and immediately it said, world of man. And God says it. He said, world of man, what are you going to do with that? I knew exactly what I was going to do. I don't have to do anything about that. You are the witness. I hope she can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. You're the witness. When the witness speaks, then let God go. And then it will be taken care of. Because I've seen miracles, and I have seen miracles. And it sounds crazy, but I went into Miami when Hurricane Andrew was about coming in about a week. And when I flew in, first thing they said to me is, we're scared. And these are Cubans have been in Miami for over 35 years. So when they say that, they've watched that kind of stuff. And her name is Mabel, and Mabel, she'll say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you used me. She called me. I mean, she told me when I flew in, and she said, and I said, don't worry about it. I got on Facebook, and we have the weather warriors. I went da 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 da, like that. And I said, this is going to happen. Now, we started that on Thursday, and the hurricane isn't supposed to be in until the following Thursday. And so what happened was within okay.
You're back.
Yeah, I was talking about Miami, what happened in Miami. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Huh?
I said that was amazing. That was miraculous. And they knew it was miraculous because they were scared. Everybody in Miami at that time was absolutely scared to death. We sat down and there was not me, it was God. And the day that hurricane was coming in, God, I woke up that morning. Now I've been working, Facebook, letting everybody know, okay, this is what raise it up, raise it up. And I woke up and God said, I'm done. It's done. Lay back. I'll take care of it.
Where do you
And
live? What
I live in
state?
Kentucky. I live in Kentucky
Kentucky. Okay.
because I'm so Southern.
Do you still have your farm?
No, I felt it though. My farm really hated me to leave because I was the light of that farm. But I was under domestic violence. It was bad, but it was amazing. I'm telling you, that's why I said God is real. I mean, I look back, I had a Jesus experience before my father and my best friend passed. And I went into the Catholic Church in the 60s. That's when everything was lit up by the candles. And I went in and there was nobody in there and it was late. It was like 6 o'clock. And I was just praying as a 16-year-old, fix this, heal them, and there's a statue of Jesus, on the cross. And I'm in it. I'm really a 16-year-old just going at it, please, God, do. And,
Did you
and,
say kill them?
huh?
Did you
Heal
say
them?
kill them?
No, heal them. Heal them. Please
Kill them.
heal them. No, heal them. And I said, please, and I'm just really praying. I'm begging. And Jesus walked off the cross and I felt him. He dropped down, walked around to the pew, opposite where I was, and scooted, when you go into the pew, everybody's scooting. And I could feel, he put his arm around me and he said, I've taken care of that. And I thought, now, as a 16-year-old and also a girl that is a Christian that is not understanding, okay, with a higher consciousness, I just knew they were going to live. Well, both of them died. And that put me, I didn't believe in God anymore. I didn't believe in Jesus anymore. And I went to college in the worst state of mind in hell. I didn't give a shit about myself. I didn't care about, I was going out with men. I was young. I was mad. I was angry.
Well,
And
we're
God,
spoiled little brats, aren't we? We don't get
I
our
know,
way.
oh, I was so angry because Jesus had lied to me. Now, I went through all of that and I almost got raped 3 times. Now, let me tell you about the power of God. When I almost got raped, this guy hit me so hard, I saw stars. Now, I was a lifeguard. I was a big girl. It wasn't like when he hit me and I went right across the wall and I went down and I was out. I thought, oh my, I never had anything hit me like that in my life. And it felt the Holy Spirit. I don't care when anybody came underneath my feet and raised my body up. Now, this is not the kind of love you would want to say God would look like, but this is, and I walked toward this man and he was going to hit me again. And I put my finger at it. I said, all I've got to do is say this, you're going to have 3 girls. And whatever you do to me, those 3 girls will have done to them. But the power of the Holy Spirit in me scared him and he fell down to the ground. Now, I'm looking at a girl of 16, 17 now who doesn't believe in Jesus. So how do you think I thought I received it? I thought I was a demon. I thought I had a devil in me. And I was scared of me. And what I was doing is drawing in the Holy Spirit, but also I was filtering through fear. So you've got the Holy Spirit running through you, but you're filtering it through fear. Now you tell me that's a hell of a ride. And but I didn't even know it until after 1998, and Jesus came to me and said, I want to get things really still, clear for you. He took me to my best friends that I was asking for her not to, to live. He showed me. It was just like we were in a room together, and Jesus was standing right beside me, and Gail's in a coma, and there's her mom and dad and her brother. And he looked at me and he said, if I had followed through in your prayer, you would imprisoned her family not to go on. And he said, is that what you wanted? I went, oh, no. He said, that's why I can fix it. I see things so farther beyond you that you're so small that you would have imprisoned them for life. And I was horrified. So then he takes me to my father, and my father looks at me, and he died a horrible death. I'm telling you, they took his eye out. My father was a hero in 1960s. He had melanoma, and the University of Kentucky came to him because we had a $100,000 bill in another Central Baptist. There's no way. In 1960, my father was a magazine subscriber. And back then you could make money in magazines because that was the big deal. But he didn't have $100,000 to be able to pay for a hospital. So UK, University of Kentucky, scientists, doctors came to him and said, would you let us experiment on you? And we'll pay your $100,000. My father was a hero for what they did to him. And I witnessed it from the age of 11 to 16. I watched what they did to my father. And so I have a really bad, bitter pill for doctors. So this is one reason why I do a lot of healing myself, because I know the presence. So what I did, but when Jesus took me back to my father, he said, I want you to see something. My father looked right at me and said, you had to watch death from the worst way. And he said, I still made it over. Now you're being taught to see the bad of death, but I want you to teach them what the greatness in death is. And that's freedom. And that was my father. So would I have ever been able to see that as a child? No. Would I have ever been able to see it as a Christian with a world of man? No. When Jesus Christ showed me there's so much more of a bigger message here that we've got to get out of our small minds to see the real truth in what's going on here. I hope that.
I'm trying to think of this guy's name to see if you know him. He's head of social work department, University of Kentucky. And I cannot think of his name. And I saw him a few years back online in a news article where he was saying he believed in near-death experiences and why.
Oh, wow. It's months. Well, I'm right up there. I spoke at UK. Now I did it with a woman, another teacher. She was a client, and she said, you need to come in there. You need to show these kids. And she was a social worker. I wish social workers would really I wanted teachers to learn this, because you live in a whole different world with kids, but see, they're not going to, because everything has to be programmed here. It is it's systematic. And we've got to get.
Yeah. I contacted the guy. I'm trying to think of his name. I've got an email somewhere, and
And you and I go there
I
together.
sent him my book, and he said it's the worst child abuse I ever heard about or read about. And so I was going to go speak to his class, because he made my book a recommended reading for his classes for students interested in going to social work or social welfare, well, child abuse. And
send that to me.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I would like to. I'm right here.
Okay.
And I'm a social worker.
Well, COVID come. And so I sent him a video instead.
Okay.
And I still have the video on my phone.
Where are you?
Where
do you live?
I'm in Ohio.
Okay, then we need to come together, and we need to go to UK together.
Okay.
I mean it. We need to be doing a circuit like this, standing up. People need to see us, to feel us, to see the energy around us, because you can feel us when we walk in. Why are we not? God will take care of it. See, you can see see me get
I'll
into the
send
world
it
of
to you as
man.
soon as I get off here with you. I'll
Yeah,
send you
yeah.
his information and the
And
video.
this has been delightful. Thank you so much for asking me to come in.
You're welcome. Maybe I'll just put the video on my YouTube because it's kind of a training video for social workers about child abuse.
Yes.
So if
Yeah,
somebody
because
will
and
benefit.
I worked in, and then sexual abuse. And I mean, and then we did sue the Catholic Church and we won. In
So
fact,
go ahead.
in fact, did you ever see the movie Spotlight?
I don't think
Go
so.
see it. Go
Okay.
see it. And my husband's court cases on there. We were the first Catholic group. It was over 248, and my husband was one of the number one victims. He talked to the bishop, and if it hadn't been, it would never been happened. If that dead priest had not, and this is why, for a lot of Christians, they think that's bad. It's evil. No, it's not. If they're coming in to give me a message to change the world, when did that get bad?
I saw I saw a lady on Dr. Oz a few years back. She was talking about she was sexually abused by a Catholic nun.
Mhm.
And for years, even after she was an adult, she had her believing she was gay. But when she was still a child and still being abused with this Catholic nun, she was sexually abused by a priest, got pregnant
Yes.
by him. They made her have an abortion, and something happened. She could never have kids again. And she's been trying to write a book for years. But she was on Dr. Oz. I've never contacted anybody I see on Dr. Oz before, but I did her, and we become friends. And she's still working on that book. And I
Well, then
tried, but
tell her to
Dr.
call.
Shows no more. Dr. Oz isn't there now, but we were talking about her and I and the social work professor from the University of Kentucky I was talking about. I was wanting to get the three of us back on Dr. Oz together and talk about child sexual abuse and, whatever, the problems in the social work system.
I don't
But
really want to
it didn't
do
happen.
Dr. Oz. I want to do our own
Yeah,
because
he's done. I don't think he has a show
he's done.
anymore.
But I mean, let's get together because I'd like to know her too. Send her number to
Okay.
because that is you can feel us, girl. I go by spirit. If God is calling us to
She
do
couldn't get anything done. She couldn't get a lawsuit.
okay, then that means it wasn't time. That wasn't the divine timing. It obviously might be. I'm an English teacher. I'm a writer, and then I've got Jeremy. Now, let me explain something, and this might make change things a little bit. Jeremy is a homosexual.
Who's Jeremy?
This is my producer, and he's like my son. I worked with him for 15 years. So I don't know how that's going to take you out.
Reproducer.
No, he's a producer. He
Oh,
produced all my stuff, but he
oh,
is a homosexual. I want
okay.
you to know that because I don't understand. This is again those laws. I'm not into the law. I look at the God within them. Now they got to work with God, not me. And I don't judge them because let me tell you, that is a Pharisee. Now, I say it because Jeremy, I love him. He's the one when I called him up, he was right there. He said, now my children, my two sons don't even believe what I do. I was abused by them, not by them personally, but now my oldest son almost hit me. But Jeremy, right there, we've been together talking, we're motivational speakers. He's a big deal in the corporate end of it. And when I called him, he was there. That's why I said, you got to look at everything in somebody's life, the whole factors. I can't judge him. I'm not going to judge him. I love him. So, and maybe I don't know I tell people that though, because a lot of people leave their churches when I'm not saying go out and promote it because
Right.
he and I are so close. I said, are you sure you're homosexual? I've asked it. There's nothing that he and I have not discussed, opened up, stood on a stage together talking about it. Sex, I've opened up. Why should we be ashamed of anything? If we are trying to find out who we are, why we're holding ourselves back because somebody else doesn't agree? That's going against God.
Well, yeah,
Now,
that's what it was, how I felt when I come about my NDE. I said, this must be what homosexuals feel like coming out of the closet. because I was
did.
really afraid
Oh,
of
me
the
too.
judgment.
Oh, I mean, that is true. We need to do, because a lot of us feel the same. I even said it. I was at a group of gay men. I was speaking, and I said, I know what it's like to be out of the closet. And I told him, I said, what it was like. I said, it's the same fear. It's not the same experience, but it's the same fear. Are they going to judge me? Are they going to? And I remember after I had that aha moment, why not? I'm going against the grain of the world anyway, because I don't even want to be in that world. And it's not that I don't, you live in that world, but you don't participate in that world. And that's what it's right out of the Bible. I
I
mean,
wanted to go to an IANS group for about a year before I went because I was afraid of the stigma. And before I went and talked to my sons and told them, and I said, will this embarrass you? Because it's in the town they live in, the meetings, and they're
I did
laughing
the
like,
same.
Mom, do what you got to do.
Oh, see how wonderful. See, I changed my not mine. I mean, my name because my sons don't, my name does not match their name. But God told me to do that. Said, because there's going to be some things, because I was going to be breaking a lot of rules. Okay. And I didn't want to have my sons because they didn't believe in it anyway. They thought I was crazy because they tried to have me committed. Oh, but I had to go through all of this. The best ones to practice with is the ones you love. Because when the other ones start attacking you, you don't know them, but you get attacked by the ones you love because you've gone through abuse. You know, that's deeper pain. And I had to go in and I had to really look at it. And I went right back to the cross with Jesus. It was, I remember I felt on that. Oh God, that was so wonderful. When I had him there, he set me up on the cross. And I felt the pain I was seeing, everything. But I looked down and I was also bartering our clothes, mine and his. And I remember I was horrified. And he turned around to me and he said, forgive you, for you know not what you do. And all of a sudden, it just like my whole body, my spirit lifted off of the cross with him, and our flesh was on the cross. And he said, just leave that up there. It needs to be crucified. And he walked with me in spirit. Isn't that pretty much what we need to do? Is we need to crucify the flesh, because it's right there in the Bible. The flesh is the weakest part of but it is the weakest part. But when you understand why you've got the body in the first place, that's where all your information is. That's where you're holding every bit of information for your soul to wake up. That's why you built this like this. This is why, we're all different, because we're all walking in with a different lesson. Many new lessons, but the lessons are not on the level of this. It's on the level of what I was showing you. So much deeper, so much more miraculously. 24 hours a day. We're blessed. We are
Yeah.
blessed. Yeah, this sounds good for us. I mean, if that's what you feel. I mean, if you don't feel that,
It's fine. Yeah. I'll send it to you since we get done here. And then I'll
okay.
have this video ready probably by morning.
Okay.
Since
Well,
longer videos takes longer to process.
it's what you wanted. I hope I didn't go too far out or
You're fine.
okay.
You're
You're
fine.
well,
I like my
well,
guests to come on, feel comfortable, start where they like, take as long as they like, and speak their truth. And guess what we did?
thank you. That it makes me much more freer. It makes the world smaller, but bigger in a way of the way this is. That's the way it should be. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
giving me the opportunity.
Okay,
Now,
I'll talk to
just
you
send
later.
that to
Okay.
me and I'll talk to you. And if anything
Okay.
comes up, let me know. Would you like my phone number, my private phone number?
I'll email you here in a little bit when I send you
Okay.
this stuff. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.